Hey, Paul.
Hey, Jude,
My
how are
name
you?
is Hey, my name is Judah McNeil. I'm coming on Paul's channel just to kind of ask some questions. I had some questions for you, Paul. Paul
Yeah,
has
thank
been a realtor for over 20 years, right? Or 19
Yeah,
years?
19 years, close. Yeah,
Under
it's been quite
just
a long
over.
time. It doesn't feel long though. It doesn't feel long. It just feels
When did
like
you get started? When you were like 10 years old? You don't look a
uh
day over 20.
no, when I get 2004, I think it was 34. Oh boy. Been doing it for so long. Now I'm 53, believe it or not. But
Wow.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
what can you do?
You're looking great, Paul.
Oh, you're too
Well, I
kind. Me too. Thank
I
you.
just had a couple questions. I'm watching as the market is fluctuating, and I'm talking about the stock market. The stock market is fluctuating quite a bit. And I've been hearing a lot about interest rates and stuff like that. And as somebody who has like a small, just a few parcels of property, I was wondering, and one that I'm looking at buying, I just wondering, is this a good time to buy or sell? I guess I think of Warren Buffett's when's a good time to buy?
Yeah,
When there's blood in the streets. When's a good
sure,
time to sell? When everybody's fine and euphoric. So
sure.
I don't.
Yeah.
It's been up and down. What
It's a
what have you found?
It's a common question. We people will say, "Hey, Paul, do we buy now? Do we sell now?" And I say both. The reason why I say that is it's a seller's market, and believe it or not, it's going to
Mm,
level off. We just don't know when. Well, we do. It's going to take quite a while before it levels off. But what we're doing is we're seeing the advantageous numbers of the interest rate, and they're coming down. The Feds have really set a goal to bring them down, which is great. Um, so when I say both, selling your property in this market, what's happening, it's not difficult, but it can be something where you definitely need the strategic way of doing it. So selling it typically right now, like I just listed two properties, I got 4 offers and 9 offers, but they got to be priced right. And also on the buy side, you really just have to be knowledgeable about how to buy it. So for example, you got to make sure you get a pre-approval. Some people are coming in cash. I'm meeting with sellers about their equity and if it's safe, and also selling their home, and then they're like, well, we'll use our equity to purchase one. So to answer your question, I really believe, especially here in Illinois area, I
mm,
really believe you can do both, and it can be both advantageous. Once again, sellers using their equity to purchase, new time or first time home buyers, they're using their loan or they're putting more down to purchase, and they're getting money from their parents too. So it just depends on their
mm.
life situation.
Well, so let me give you a specific example. There's a
Sure,
small trailer park out in Des Plaines that I want to buy.
sure,
I've got good credit,
yeah,
so I feel like I could get the loan to get it, but I'm worried. This is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the piece is inflated. The land is inflated right now,
sure.
and with all the ups and downs, I guess I'm just worried that an opportunity is going to come when like that there's a crash coming, and I'm waiting.
Sure.
I'm waiting to buy it when the crash comes, but that may never come, right?
Yeah, it's going to be it's very different from 2008. 2008 is when the crash did take place. And you may have seen the movie The Big Short. People ask me, did you
Mm,
see the movie? I didn't because I lived it. But there was plenty of inventory during that time. So
mm,
the market crashed. It was a buyer's market. So people were gobbling up these properties that were very cheap. And now I've got investors that purchased, back then, and now they're worth more. But as far as with a crash, it's very different now because the inventory is low. So
mm.
with inventory being low, the stability of the seller's market is in good shape right now. So I don't anticipate a crash, because it's a whole different scenario. Once again, there's a large part of inventory back then, so the buyers were just gobbling it up. And then now there's no inventory. but that's
It's been
again,
gobbled up. It's all
yeah,
been gobbled up.
it has, but it's still advantageous. So from 2012, what I noticed, 2012 to present day, there were multiple offers on properties because it's a seller's market.
Mm,
Remember, no properties a seller puts on the market, it's a seller's market. They're going to make some good cash on it. Right. Right.
mm,
And what we're noticing too, even if you're on the market for like 3 years and you price it right, you're walking away with some type of equity, some type of profit uh, on that. So what we're also seeing is we're seeing some flippers out there. And
mm,
the reason why I say that, because I have investors like, well, let's find a teardown or whatever, but it's not in that price range they're looking at because it's priced higher
mm,
now. So, for example, back when the crash, $150,000, they could put down, or 100,000, they could buy a home. Now you're looking at those homes, as far as with the teardown, it's like 250, 300,000 in this particular area, and the investor's not going to make any money on it. So they don't,
mm.
they don't put in, they don't put an offer in or whatnot. And it's good that I advise them, especially like you were talking about the depreciation of a property or of land. Des Plaines is a very good city, so the chances of
Mm.
that, that plummeting down is very rare. So I don't see. There's a lot of safety checks right now. I don't see crashing.
What about I'd heard different ways of getting into like investment properties. One of them being looking at sales tax, looking at the state's sort of reports about who is way behind on their sales tax and maybe taking over, their
Yeah,
property by paying the sales tax if they're way behind. The
right.
other is taking over somebody's lease
Yeah,
or being able to find somebody who's like underwater in their lease and
yeah.
helping them out, taking over the lease and maybe taking over the property. Can you tell me more? Like, I just don't understand a lot about that.
Yeah. So, for example, back then, when I say the crash happened, there were properties that were left, and there were plenty of foreclosures. I forget the percentage compared to
Mhm,
those that were being sold. Um,
mhm,
so it's kind of like if you're betting against the market, to crash,
mhm,
and that's what the investors did. They wanted a market that at least was advantageous for them to purchase. So back
mhm,
then, like I said, there were tons of foreclosures back then. Short sales, meaning that the owner still owned it, but if they were to sell it, they wouldn't make enough money to pay the mortgage. Foreclosure means that the bank already owned the property, and we're not seeing a whole lot of that. Like for example, I just did I'm well versed in these distressed properties.
mm,
You're just seeing not a whole lot of inventory pertaining to that. Yes, you can go to one of the things that I'll do is I'll go over to the county list. I'll pull from DuPage County. I'll pull a list of distressed properties. But once again, it's just there are some that works in that list, some that don't, and that's what you do. I capture those that fit that. But then what happens? Like for just a brief example, when I go to auctions with my investors,
mm,
it's a property that they're behind on their mortgage and whatnot. But 9 times out of 10, what happens is the day we go for the auction is the day that the seller pays up the mortgage, so he or she doesn't need to move. So that's a chance that. But back then with auctions, there was more properties and people couldn't afford them. Uh,
right.
so it's
Now
yeah,
the inventory is really low. That's driving the price up.
yeah. Yeah, so we're seeing an increase. So, for example, around the nation, last year sales prices rose about 3.5%. And what we're noticing now is that they're going to be going up to 2.5%. And that's a big raise.
Mm,
So, yeah, the experts, as far as, like Inman and whatnot, um, I don't see them reporting on a crash happening. I don't see them talking more about there's going to be tons of foreclosures. The foreclosures are controlled by the market. So
mm,
a person that's behind or not able to pay the mortgage anymore, they're just putting their house on the market and they're getting that equity and then they're paying it off. Um,
mm.
so there's so many. It's just what affects the market is the demand, and right now we're noticing that it's high demand but not enough properties out there for the people.
All right. Well, thanks, Paul. That
Yeah,
answers a lot of
yeah.
my questions. Hopefully, this information has been. I'm sure there's people out there who have the same questions. And can you tell people where to find you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on most social. In fact, all of the socials. Facebook, Twitter. You got LinkedIn, you got TikTok, and Instagram and whatnot. You can also just give me a call directly. And that'll be below, but it's 630-363-0054. You can come to my website. So, I'm all over the place. And the more I can help people and build those relationships, the more people get on my social pages and whatnot. And it's
Is
good
that it right
content.
there? 630 363 0054.
Yeah, 54. Yeah. Well, I appreciate your
Give him a
time too,
call.
Judah. Yeah. Thanks for talking to me. It's always good.
All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Take care,
everybody.
people.
Have a
Yeah,
great day.
thanks.